Looting was to be expected. The hurricane has mostly passed through. It's now a depression. It's still raining. It's not as windy. A lot of places are flooding. And because of this, well, not just because of this, I mean, it's a hurricane, but we're seeing a ton of looting. We have this story from Fox 2 Now St. Louis. TV reporter confronts Hurricane Florence looters. We've got a video of it. I'm only going to play a little bit. It's got a ton of views. It's got 1.4 million views apparently on Facebook. Wilmington, North Carolina, a local TV reporter confronted looters in the aftermath of Hurricane Florence. People were breaking into a closed Family Dollar store Saturday. WECT reporter Chelsea Donovan saw people wearing masks and carrying out items. They scattered when she pointed her camera at them. Let me play a little bit of this for you. Find maybe something from the beginning because.
Actually, just saw a bunch of people coming out in masks. Kristen, if you can pan over here, this is the Houston Moore complex on Greenfield Street. You can see here people coming out with items left and right, looting the Family Dollar here on Greenfield Street. You can see inside just a complete mess. People taking duffel bags and trash bags, now noticing that we're here running away from the camera. You can see people inside here, people with t-shirts over their heads, coming out with bags of items. You can see these people across the street in masks. This is an ongoing situation. Looks like the police are here now. People wearing Halloween masks, looting the Family Dollar here on Greenfield Street.
All right, so she basically then walks around the building. She confronts more people. They film more of the inside of this building. The police left, all right? So let me see if they have that in this story. Wilmington police say they were told by the Family Dollar store's management to stand down after receiving reports of looting. Police are now asking the public to help identify the suspects. There have been some arrests. So Facebook has posted photos and images of these people. For days, residents had been told to heed warnings. Hurricane Florence at its peak, a Category 5, would be the storm of a lifetime for portions of the Carolina coast. The National Weather Service said it would bring powerful wind, relentless rain, and life-threatening storm surge to an area that wasn't used to hurricanes. More than 1 million people were under mandatory evacuation. I want to talk about looting, all right? How do you think the right, conservatives, would respond to this looting? I would actually say, in my opinion, I would assume, much like this woman's shock. You can actually, in the beginning, I don't know if I can capture this. Try and hear this gasp. Listen for this gasp.
Houston Moore complex on Greenfield Street. You can see here people coming out with items left and right, looting the Family.
You hear that? She said, "Oh my God." I don't know who exactly said that. It wasn't the reporter. I believe it was someone at the news station, shocked to see this looting happening. But let me ask you, how do you think the left would respond? Well, I think it's fairly obvious. They're going to defend the looters. Now, don't get me wrong. Listen, there is some, in some instances, I will actually defend looters. This is not one of those instances. You know, during Katrina, there was that famous moment where there are these two news clips, and it showed a white family carrying goods, and it said, a couple searches or finds food or scavenges for food. And the next one showed black people, and it said looters. And a lot of people were like, how come the black people are looters and the white people are scavengers or finding food? And I do believe that, yes, things like that do happen. In an instance like Hurricane Katrina, it's a massive disaster. It's a catastrophe. I can understand why people would be looting. In this instance, you can see people stealing toilet paper. And it's actually, someone writing in defense of them talks about them taking toilet paper. Listen, I can understand, you need food. Sure, I can understand to an extent taking toilet paper. But these are people who live across the street from Family Dollar. This is something that, it is a disaster. There have been deaths. There have been mandatory evacuations. Roads are closed. Roads have collapsed. So it is bad. But I don't see this as an act of desperation in the sense that you need to destroy everything. I mean, look, you can see the everything's knocked over, everything's destroyed. It's one thing if you go in and you take food that you need because there's a storm and you're desperate. It's another thing if you just trash the place. You break in, you trash the place. There's garbage. There's just things thrown about. People are stealing, toilet paper and paper towels. So it's no surprise you'll find me in the center on a lot of these issues because I do think if there was a massive disaster, actually let me say this right now because I've talked about this before the hurricane and once before this. You really do need to have some kind of emergency food preparation or something, okay? There may come a time where you don't realize you're out of luck. No food, roads are closed. It can happen so quick. Look at this. Look at this video of people just breaking into a Family Dollar and just putting masks on, stealing things. That's how easily things break down. Like that. It's mind-blowing. I've been in countries. Okay, I was in Venezuela. I was in Egypt. They go, Ukraine. They go from having stores to, boom, overnight, literally nothing. There was an algal bloom in like Ohio or something. Overnight, the stores were raided of water. Water gone. You know, what happens is people are so used to going to Walmart and seeing all their goodies, everything they need there, they assume it'll always be there. That stuff comes in, it's on a rotation, man. Those trucks come in. You go 2 days without a resupply. Everything's gone and you're in trouble. So seriously, you should consider having something. I would assume there are a lot of people here who really are desperate, you know, for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have the money or the means to get out during an evacuation, and they really didn't have a choice. They had to get, you know, go in there and steal food. Now, one of the reasons why I don't see that as probably being likely is because the storm just hit. It's been a couple days, all right? You know, what would happen if there was no storm? There wouldn't be this looting, okay? So that's why I kind of err on the side of these people probably didn't need to loot. I don't want to pass judgment on all of them, because maybe some of them did for some reason. Maybe they got someone sick, they need to grab some medicine, who knows? But the point is, no hurricane, no looting. I can't imagine these people are all starving. I mean, you can especially, and I'm not trying to be a dick here. I'm not trying to be, you know, like a mean person, but you can see that, I don't want to pull it up, but you can see that, you know, some of these people are kind of overweight, right? And when I talk about how America has overweight poor people, you know, people often say, oh, they're eating terrible diets. And I'm like, wait, listen. I'm not saying they're eating healthy and they're going to, you know, and they don't need, you know, to go to the hospital or anything. I'm just saying there are countries where the poor people are starving to death. All right. So at the very least, right? Crappy food, unhealthy food that can make you overweight because your caloric intake is very high is better than not having food at all. I think that's fair to say. So when I see a bunch of people who after a couple days start looting a Family Dollar and they're taking things in, you know, garbage bags, I'm not going to side with them. And this leads me to another point. Because, for one, let me do this real quick. We have this article from The Root that says, despite the cops being asked to stand down, they did arrest 5 people. And this guy writes that, you know, like he downplays it. Obviously, he definitely downplays it and says something like, here we go. He makes reference to, when the proprietor relented, the law enforcement officers immediately began the hard work of tracking down the brazen criminal masterminds who made off with the store's valuable stash of one-ply toilet tissue and off-brand pine-scented cleanser. A statement like that is meant to downplay what these people were doing. Okay, these people were raiding a store. They were stealing from it. It's not like Family Dollar, the owners are going to be able to snap their fingers and make up for that. Maybe insurance will, but the point is, we don't know what they were stealing, okay? After a couple days, looting a store, I can't defend these actions. Now I want to tell you, I may have told this story before, but we have this article. It's from the New Inquiry. I'm not entirely sure exactly what it is, but it says, "In Defense of Looting." And it's from August 21st, 2014. They said, for most of America's history, one of the most righteous anti-white supremacist tactics available was looting. And this is about Ferguson. This is one of the most offensive things I have ever seen. To me. And I'm not one who normally gets super offended, but this is such a violation of what those people in Ferguson went through. Let me first start by saying, I don't live in Ferguson. I only spent, I spent a couple, maybe, I would say all in all about a month in Ferguson, non-consecutively. Maybe like a week here, 2 weeks here, a week here. Actually, probably longer than a month, maybe 2 months. Because I was there for like 2 years in and out, okay? Let me tell you a story. The liquor store that Michael Brown was stole the cigarillos from before being killed by the police was looted in the rioting. The windows were boarded up. We showed up, windows were boarded up. And I believe this was after I don't know exactly when this happened. It wasn't the immediate aftermath. But one day, when things started to get crazy and people started looting the stores across the street, this liquor store had a group of young black men locking arms, protecting the storefront, and telling people they wouldn't allow them to loot it. And one guy said to me, he said to all of us standing in front of him, this store is part of our community. Those people looting don't live here. They're burning down our community. Y'all are letting them do it. We gotta protect our stores. It was actually really funny because this guy from Al Jazeera, who now works for Vice, was there. And one of the dudes who was linking arms, his phone rings. Al Jazeera guy says, he answers like, it's my mom, she's super worried. The reporter for Al Jazeera talks to the guy's mom, and she's freaking out. He's like, she's very worried, she doesn't want you looting. And the Al Jazeera reporter says he's being very responsible. He's protecting the store, something like this. Like, it's been a while since it's 4 years ago. And then like the mom's all relieved. I witnessed young black men in Ferguson trying to defend the stores from looting. And what happens? This article in defense of looting shits in the face of those young men who are putting their bodies on the line to protect their communities. I saw these people breaking windows, stealing things, jumping in cars, and leaving. And these men were saying, those guys don't live here, dude. They're destroying our community. They're stealing from us, right? There's that famous video from CNN where, I believe it was Milwaukee, I can't remember exactly where this was, where she says, this woman, she's the sister of a guy who got killed, says, don't burn our stuff down, burn their stuff down. And that's not a great comment to make, right? CNN famously clipped it so it sounded like she was calling for peace when she was actually calling for violence against other people. But the point was, even when the person is saying be violent, they admit, don't burn our stuff down, do it to somebody else. In this instance in Ferguson, they were saying, please don't destroy our community. So you see these arguments defending looting, but I see articles like this where they try and downplay what's being done here, and it's like, listen, man, that Family Dollar, yes, it's a corporate chain. I don't know who owns it. Maybe it's a franchise. But economies, the more you trade, the better it is for the community. And that's why I typically say looting is bad. But I will end with just one point to make. Listen, there may be some times where looting is absolutely acceptable. I would much prefer, if there's a starving person, an injured person need medicine, I'm going to hand them the brick. And I'm going to say, look, man, I would rather Family Dollar have to pay to fix all this than to see a person be really hurt. I'm just concerned that what we're seeing here isn't that. All right, so I give people leeway, right? But eventually, 5 people got arrested. Police were sharing photos. But it is what it is, I guess. This is different from a street riot. This is a hurricane where some people might actually need these supplies. It's true. Okay, let's be rational. Do you think so? I kind of lean towards after a couple days, probably not. Probably not. But let me know what you think. And yeah, that's about it. Stick around. I've got another video coming up in just a couple minutes.